He finally realized, okay, I gotta say something. He was like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know who this is, but I'm gonna marry her.
So Steve Harvey really came back around acting bold, tossing that same old dusty shade at Katt Williams again. And now Katt is firing back hard, dragging Steve's wife, Marjorie, right into the spotlight. And here's where it gets messy. Katt is claiming Marjorie is the real one calling shots behind the scenes like a quiet puppet master keeping Steve in line. He's saying she's got him wrapped tight around her finger and even teaching her daughter Lori how to move smart and maintain that high-end lifestyle through relationships. That's a serious claim. And according to Katt, the only reason Steve keeps talking about him is because Marjorie allegedly pushed him to do it. Still upset about that contract Katt exposed before. Now it gets even wilder. Katt suggests Steve allegedly signed deals tied to his image and personal life. And now he's out here throwing jabs while being controlled like a ventriloquist dummy, with Marjorie pulling the strings from behind the curtain. That's the picture he's painting. So what's really going on here? Is Marjorie truly this mastermind running everything in silence? Or is this just talk blown way out of proportion about someone who played her cards right over time?
When you met Steve, he was already married. And you walk in late to his show. Late. You walked in late for a reason. For the attention. Not even knowing you, he said, I'm gonna marry you. Girl, who you done call? Oshun? Freda?
It's been over 2 years since Katt Williams' explosive Club Shay Shay interview, and somehow Steve Harvey is still stuck on it like it just happened yesterday. When that interview first went viral, Steve didn't just brush it off, he came out heated and even said he'd shoot his perm straight out of his head. That kind of reaction? Yeah, Katt definitely hit a nerve. Fast forward to now, and Steve is still talking. During his recent sit-down on the Pivot podcast, he brought Katt up again and tried to play it off by saying Katt is just bitter and jealous because he's not on the same level. That's the angle he's going with. But wait a second. If Steve really believes Katt is just jealous, then why get so worked up in the first place? People don't go that far unless something really got under their skin. That reaction didn't look calm or confident, it looked personal. And this is where things take another turn. According to someone close to the Harvey circle, Marjorie might actually be the one influencing how all of this is playing out behind the scenes. Publicly going after Katt and even throwing out threats like that? And allegedly, all of it ties back to what Katt exposed about the industry. Katt claimed that comedians trying to reach the top had to sign onto a certain program, and part of that image included having a light-skinned, weird face wife. That statement alone had people talking crazy. But Katt didn't stop there. He also brought up Steve's past, saying Steve left his first wife behind and then flipped the story later, acting like Marjorie was there when he had nothing.
If I had a chance to talk to Katt about anything, I would just ask him what's wrong. Just what's wrong.
That contradiction raised a lot of eyebrows and added even more heat to the situation. Now look at Marjorie today. She's constantly showing off that high-end lifestyle on social media, surrounded by celebrities, billionaires, and luxury everywhere you look. It's all private jets, designer outfits, and elite circles. But according to this narrative, before Steve entered her life, things looked very different. No flashy lifestyle, no spotlight like this. Then came that moment at a Memphis comedy club where Steve says the second he saw her, it felt like straight destiny. They hit it off fast, no doubt. But after just a few weeks, Marjorie reportedly pulled away because Steve's money wasn't looking right at the time. Then boom, fast forward to 2005 and they cross paths again. Only now, Steve's got a hit sitcom and real fame behind him, and suddenly, Marjorie is open to giving it another chance. That timing raised a lot of questions. And here's where things get even more complicated. At that point, Steve was still married to his second wife, Mary Shackelford. Later on, Mary came out and claimed that Steve was seeing Marjorie while they were still together before the divorce was finalized. That added a whole new layer of drama to the story. Then it gets even heavier. Mary also alleged that Steve took their son Winton with him, influenced how the child saw her, and used the legal system in a way that left her with nothing in the end. Those are serious claims that really intensified the situation. Steve wasn't even seen as the one running the show in all this. According to the talk going around, Marjorie was the one really calling plays behind the curtain. People claim she laid everything out step by step and convinced Steve to completely cut off his ex-wife like she didn't exist. That's how the story is being told.
The social media fodder was upset with you for the way you finally responded to him. They said they felt like what he said about you was true because of the nature of your reaction.
Oh, well, see, first of all, I ain't really good at social media, so I didn't even know that was out there. But they can, like, really kiss most of the corners of my head. Just because a person sits on the show and don't hesitate or say or
And it doesn't stop there. There are also claims that Marjorie pushed Steve to shape the public narrative, making Mary look unstable in the media. And Steve? He allegedly went along with it, calling Mary bitter and toxic, while flipping the situation and saying she was the one causing harm to their son. That kind of back and forth had people seriously divided. Katt, on the other hand, seemed to suggest he saw all of this coming way before it played out. But despite all the attempts to control the story, a lot of people weren't convinced. The public reaction didn't fully line up with what was being pushed, and opinions stayed mixed. Marjorie ended up becoming one of the most talked about wives in Hollywood, and not always in a good way. But according to this narrative, that's just scratching the surface. Before she ever became Mrs. Harvey, she had already been married twice. One of her former husbands was reportedly involved in serious criminal activity, and rumors have long suggested Marjorie was far from just a quiet partner in that chapter of her life. Things get even more intense when you hear the rest of the story. There are claims floating around that Marjorie was deeply involved in her ex-husband's illegal dealings, and that federal authorities had their eyes on the situation. Some sources even say investigators pressured him to cooperate, warning that she could also face serious consequences if he didn't talk. That's how serious it was being described. He eventually chose to cooperate, but still ended up facing major charges tied to attempting to purchase a large amount of illegal substances.
and speaks eloquently, that don't mean it's true. That just don't mean it's true, man. Because we not in the same league, dog. We shooting at two different baskets.
The case led to a life sentence, and he served over 2 decades before receiving a presidential pardon in 2017. Meanwhile, Marjorie was never charged and later filed for divorce, stepping away from that situation entirely within a few years. But the drama didn't stop there. After that relationship ended, reports say Marjorie started seeing someone else connected to that same circle, his cousin Donald Woods. And here's another twist. He is known as Lori Harvey's biological father. Marjorie later married him in the early 2000s, adding another layer to an already complicated timeline. Now, when you line all of this up, it raises eyebrows. Steve and Marjorie have both said they first met in the late 90s, split, and then reconnected in 2005. But when you compare that timeline to everything else, people start questioning what was really going on behind the scenes at the time. Anyway, once Marjorie reconnected with Steve and saw his career was about to take off, people say she moved on from Donald real quick, like out with the old and in with the future. And what happened to Donald after that? According to reports, he ended up facing legal trouble too, was arrested, charged, and only recently got out of prison. That pattern has definitely made people look twice at the situation. Then in June 2007, Steve and Marjorie officially got married, making it all official. Steve also adopted her 3 kids, Morgan, Jason, and Lori, blending their families into one big household. And don't forget, Steve already had 4 biological children of his own, so this was a full house with a lot going on. Fast forward to today, and they present themselves as the perfect couple, always giving relationship advice on TV and showing off their happy blended family. But behind the scenes, that's where the rumors start getting loud. One insider claimed there's serious tension in that household, saying things aren't nearly as picture perfect as they seem. According to that same source, Marjorie is extremely focused on pushing Lori into the spotlight and encouraging her to date high-profile men, while the other kids don't get the same attention. They also claim Marjorie runs everything at home and is very strategic about how Lori navigates relationships. And now, there's even more talk starting to build involving Michael B.
I shouldn't even have said nothing. I think that's kind of like hate and jealousy. And hate and jealousy is a form of grief. You're grieving because obviously all them people you talking about have something you either want or are something that you ain't. And you're grieving. And the funeral becomes the podcast. So now let me roast.
Michael B. Jordan reportedly had doubts about Marjorie from the very beginning. No matter what he did for Lori, people say it just wasn't enough in her mom's eyes. That kind of pressure would make anyone step back and question things. Then the rumors got even louder. Word is, MBJ was serious about Lori and even thinking about marriage. And like many people in his position, a prenup was part of the conversation. That's pretty standard when big money is involved. But according to the talk, Marjorie was completely against it and shut the idea down fast. Some say she doesn't believe in prenups, which raised eyebrows considering her lifestyle and history. And from that perspective, critics claim she may have influenced Lori to walk away from Michael and move on to someone else with status and wealth. So when Katt spoke out, he didn't just respond, he went straight at the situation. He painted Marjorie as someone who carefully plans her moves, building her life through timing, positioning, and relationships. And now people are really starting to question everything. Because if even half of these claims are true, then this isn't just random drama. It's a whole strategy playing out in plain sight. The way Katt laid it out, he wasn't just throwing shots, he was pointing at patterns that some fans are now going back and re-examining closely. At the same time, there are plenty of people pushing back hard on this narrative. Not everyone is buying what Katt is saying, and some feel like this is all being blown way out of proportion, turning personal lives into entertainment. They argue that success, relationships, and timing don't automatically mean manipulation. It could just be how things naturally unfolded over time. Still, the conversation isn't slowing down anytime soon. With Steve continuing to speak on Katt and Katt doubling down with even more bold claims, this situation keeps pulling more attention. And right in the middle of it all is Marjorie, with people split between seeing her as a mastermind or simply someone who ended up in the spotlight through a complicated journey. And just when it seems like things might cool off, another layer always pops up. Because now people are watching Steve more closely than ever, paying attention to what he says and what he doesn't say. Every interview, every comment, it all gets picked apart, with fans trying to figure out if he's speaking for himself or echoing something bigger behind the scenes. At the same time, Katt doesn't look like he's backing down at all. If anything, he seems more confident, like he's standing on everything he already said and daring anyone to prove him wrong. That energy is keeping the spotlight locked on this whole situation. And Marjorie, she's still moving the same way, posting, appearing, and staying visible without directly addressing any of the noise. That silence is only making people talk more, with some seeing it as power and others seeing it as avoidance. One thing is clear, this story isn't wrapping up neatly anytime soon, and every new detail just pulls people deeper into the drama. And now the audience is split right down the middle. Some people are riding with Katt, saying he's exposing things others were too scared to say out loud. They believe there's truth hidden in all the noise, and that the patterns he pointed out aren't just coincidences. But on the flip side, others are defending Steve and Marjorie heavy. They see this as someone stirring up old drama for attention, arguing that a lot of these claims are based on rumors, not solid proof. To them, this is just another case of celebrity lives getting twisted into something bigger than it really is. Still, the internet keeps digging. Old clips, interviews, and timelines are being pulled back up, with people trying to connect every dot and make sense of it all. Every little detail is being analyzed like it's part of some bigger puzzle. At the end of the day, this whole situation has turned into a full-blown debate, and nobody seems ready to let it go anytime soon. And even now, this whole situation keeps picking up more steam.
So I came late, came down front with my girlfriend. Our seats were right here at the front, right by the stage. So we were sitting here, the stage was here. So he's just quiet. He just keeps staring at me. So I'm waiting on him to make me a part of the show so we can get on with the show. So he stayed quiet so long, staring at me. Now everybody in the club is looking at me. And so he finally realized, okay, I gotta say something. He was like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know who this is, but I'm gonna marry her.
Every day there's a new opinion, a new breakdown, or another clip resurfacing that keeps the conversation alive. People aren't just watching anymore. They're fully invested, trying to figure out what's real and what's just talk. What's wild is how this has gone beyond just Steve and Katt. Now it's turned into a bigger discussion about power, relationships, and how people move behind the scenes in the spotlight. Some see it as a lesson, others see it as pure entertainment, but either way, it's got everyone paying attention. Meanwhile, none of the main players are really clearing things up directly. That silence leaves room for even more speculation to grow, and the internet runs with it every single time. So for now, it's all eyes on what happens next. Because if history has shown anything, it's that this story always finds a way to come back louder, messier, and with even more questions than before. And just when it feels like everything that could be said has already been said, another twist always finds its way into the mix. The story keeps evolving, and people are watching closely to see who speaks next and what they reveal. Because at this point, even the smallest comment can spark a whole new wave of reactions. Some are convinced there's still more behind the scenes that hasn't come out yet. They think what's already been said is just the surface, and that bigger details could change how everyone sees this situation. Others aren't so sure and believe this has already been stretched as far as it can go. But one thing nobody can deny is the impact. This back and forth has kept fans, critics, and the entire internet locked in, debating every angle and replaying every moment. And until someone comes forward with something solid to either confirm or shut it all down, this drama is going to keep circling, getting louder every time it comes back up. And when Katt held that mirror up, it didn't feel like simple shade. It felt like straight exposure. He peeled back the image, called out what he believes is manipulation, and made it seem like Steve isn't the one in control like people think. Instead, he painted a picture of someone being guided every step of the way. After everything that's been brought up, the past relationships, the legal drama, the rumors, and all the unanswered questions, people are really starting to look at this differently. The idea that Marjorie keeps coming out untouched in every situation has only added more fuel to the conversation. So now the big question is loud and clear. Do you think Steve is really running things in that house, or is he just playing a role while someone else calls the shots? And what do you think about Katt's claim that comedians have to sign deals tied to their personal lives? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share this with someone who needs to see it.